For years, the walls of Buckingham Palace stood quiet, like an old cathedral guarding its most forbidden secret. Questions came and went, reporters shouted, tabloids speculated, but the palace never blinked. No statement. No denial. Just silence. And yet, beneath that stillness, something was shifting. The kind of shift you can't see, only feel. Like the tremor before an earthquake, for 6 long years. The world accepted what it was told, that Archie and Lilibet were the cherished children of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. It was a beautiful story. Polished and perfect, wrapped in photographs, handshakes, and rehearsed smiles. But then came a woman who refused to disappear into the shadows. She called herself only 2 letters, DL. She didn't speak like someone chasing fame. She spoke like someone holding proof. She arrived with documents, signed agreements, hospital admissions from a clinic far from London's reach, and bank records that, if real, linked her directly to Meghan and Harry's private circle. The world gasped when she claimed not to be a surrogate, but something far more explosive, the biological mother. At first, it sounded absurd, the kind of rumor born in the corners of the internet. But then her legal team confirmed the documents existed, witnessed, and quietly verified. And suddenly, the whispers that had lived in the dark found their echo inside the palace halls. Because if DL was telling the truth, this wasn't just about deception or image. It was about the very blood that built the crown. To grasp the magnitude of that, you have to travel back more than a century, to a time when kings rewrote destiny with a signature. The year was 1917. Europe was bleeding from the Great War, monarchies collapsing one after another. In the middle of that chaos, King George V took a pen and signed a decree, the letters patent. It was cold, precise, and unyielding. Within its ink lay the rules that defined royal blood itself. It said only certain children could ever bear the titles of prince or princess, those of legitimate birth, recognized by the crown, and baptized under the Church of England. 3 rules, simple but absolute. Those words became scripture for royal lineage, ensuring every child's blood was traceable, pure, and sanctioned by law. For over 100 years, that decree held firm. Until Meghan Markle and Prince Harry stepped outside the script. When the royal institution looked at the paperwork surrounding Archie's birth, something didn't align. The birth wasn't recorded under the same traditions. The baptism didn't follow the same ancient path. And those small inconsistencies, the kind the public never sees, began to glow red inside palace records. When Archie was born in 2019, the photographs painted perfection, a radiant mother, a beaming father, and a monarchy smiling for the cameras. But behind closed doors, clerks and courtiers began whispering. Was every form signed properly? Were the names recorded according to royal protocol? Did the rules of 1917 still apply, or had exceptions been made for convenience? The monarchy doesn't forgive mistakes in ink. Every miswritten line threatens the structure built on lineage and legality. And that's where the unease began. To the public, Archie was a joy. To the palace, he was a question mark written in gold. Years passed, but the questions never stopped. Because to the institution, this wasn't about emotion, it was about order. When royal law bends, history has to correct itself. No matter the cost. Meanwhile, far from the pomp and echo of palaces, DL lived quietly, carrying the weight of a truth she hadn't planned to reveal. In late 2018, she said, intermediaries approached her with an offer, help a royal couple bring a child into the world. In exchange, 3 promises, total anonymity, financial compensation, and permanent removal from the public record. She signed the contracts. She followed the plan. And when the baby arrived, she waited for her payment, and for peace. But then, everything went silent. The money stopped. Her contacts vanished. Her legal liaison disappeared like smoke. One of her attorneys later described it in one chilling sentence: she kept her promise. They erased her existence. For months, DL convinced herself it was a mistake, that someone in London had simply forgotten a clause. But as the trail of payments went cold and the emails vanished, the pattern became clear. She hadn't been forgotten. She had been deleted, and that's when she stopped waiting. Instead of turning to the press, she turned to lawyers, because she knew the palace didn't fear noise. It feared evidence. Behind the velvet curtains of monarchy, Prince Harry had always been painted as the rebel with a cause, the husband who fled royal control to protect his wife and children. But insiders close to the arrangement whisper another version, one far less heroic. They claim Harry wasn't an innocent bystander. He was an architect. According to those reports, he approved payments, oversaw communication, and personally ensured DL would remain invisible. The operation, they say, ran through a private fertility clinic in California, far from royal oversight, completely off the books. No palace doctors. No official documentation. Just a secret built on trust and wires. If that's true, it means Prince Harry didn't stumble into deception. He designed it. A devastating irony, the same man who spent decades railing against the lies that killed his mother may have created one of his own, and perhaps that's why those close to him say his eyes have changed. The spark is gone, replaced by a kind of haunted quiet. He walks at night, restless, as if running from something only he can see. Because if this secret ever breaks, it won't just unravel Meghan Markle, it will expose the decisions Harry made in the dark to protect her. Inside their Montecito home, silence has become the new strategy. No podcasts. No statements. No interviews. Just absence. For someone who once fought to control every frame of her story, Meghan's silence feels less like strength and more like surrender, and within Buckingham Palace, the same quiet hums, not panic, not denial, but resignation. Everyone senses it now. The moment this secret leaves its box, it won't just bruise reputations. It could rewrite royal history itself. Night falls heavy over Buckingham Palace, but no one inside sleeps. The gold corridors that once echoed with ceremony now whisper with fear. Advisors huddle under dim chandeliers, their voices lowered, folders marked private and confidential scattered across polished tables. The smell of printer ink and panic lingers in the air. Outside, the palace gates gleam under cold rain. And behind them, centuries of order tremble beneath a single woman's name, DL, thousands of miles away. In a quiet town in Colorado, DL sits alone at her kitchen table. The lights are low. On the table lies a single box, small but heavy, inside, every document that could shatter the monarchy's illusion. Bank transfers, NDAs, medical charts, email threads between intermediaries and the Sussex team. Proof she never intended to use, but can no longer ignore. Each page, a fragment of truth. Each signature, a promise broken. Her lawyers call it the evidence package. To her, it's something simpler, her story. For years, she tried to bury it, convinced the royals would make things right quietly. But silence can rot into something louder than words. And now, as legal negotiations falter, DL's patience has ended. Unless there's a settlement, she's ready to go public. In Montecito, Prince Harry paces through the dim hallways of his California home, the ocean wind rattling the glass doors. Friends say he barely sleeps, haunted by the idea that everything he fought to protect could collapse overnight. To him, this isn't just a scandal, it's the undoing of his new identity. The man who left the crown to live in truth now faces the nightmare of being called a liar. Inside the same house, Meghan Markle has withdrawn into silence. No new podcast episodes, no social posts, not even her usual public appearances. For someone once addicted to narrative control, the quiet feels unnatural, like watching a performer walk off stage before the show ends. Sources close to her describe her mood in one word: frozen. Behind the scenes, legal teams are at war. DL's lawyers have mapped every wire transfer, every message trail, every timestamp that places her name near the Sussex Circle. Across the Atlantic, the palace's attorneys scramble to prepare for impact. Contingency plans multiply, from quiet settlements to constitutional reviews. Advisors whisper about worst-case scenarios. What if the children's status is legally challenged? What if the 1917 letters patent must be enforced? One aide, speaking under oath of secrecy, reportedly warned, if even half of this checks out, the monarchy enters uncharted territory. We've lost thrones to war and scandal, but never to a birth certificate. That's the magnitude of what's at stake. Because this isn't just about Meghan and Harry anymore. It's about legacy, and what happens when royal lineage itself is questioned. In quiet corridors of the palace, they're already rehearsing damage control. Some want to protect the children no matter what. Others whisper that correction is necessary to preserve the institution's integrity. Imagine that, centuries of empire, now threatened not by invasion, but by paperwork. As dawn breaks over London, the palace press office drafts statements that may never see daylight. Lines like, "No credible evidence has been presented," and "The matter is private and confidential," are rehearsed and revised. Yet everyone inside knows, if DL steps forward, the illusion of control shatters. Meanwhile, social media burns with speculation. Commenters split into tribes, #Team DL, #Team Sussex, and those just watching the fire spread. Rumors multiply faster than the palace can contain them. Some believe DL was silenced by NDAs tied to royal funding. Others claim she was paid through shell accounts. Most just want answers, and as that noise grows, DL's small legal office in Colorado becomes the center of global attention. Journalists camp outside, camera lenses waiting for the moment the door opens. But DL doesn't rush. She moves carefully, methodically. Every page she releases could alter not only reputations, but royal protocol itself. Inside Montecito, Prince Harry has stopped answering calls from old friends. Those who've seen him say he blames himself. Because if the arrangement was real, then every statement he's made about truth and freedom becomes a contradiction. And if Meghan knew, or even approved, it becomes something else entirely. a betrayal wrapped in royal branding. Sources say arguments in their home have grown louder. Door slamming, long silences, nights spent in separate rooms. What began as a love story that defied the crown now looks like a kingdom collapsing in private. Back in London, royal aides describe the atmosphere as pre-crisis containment. Memos circulate under strict confidentiality. Senior staff have been told to prepare for the possibility that the royal succession list, the sacred order of heirs, may need to be revised. For the first time in modern history, legal teams are discussing the unthinkable. Removal. By now, DL's evidence package is sealed, copied, and protected. Her lawyers have sent preliminary notices to both the palace and the Sussexes. The message is clear: if the documents aren't addressed formally, they'll be released publicly. And when that happens, no amount of royal charm or media strategy will stop the fallout. Night returns once more to Buckingham Palace. The grand windows reflect not celebration, but dread. Portraits of kings and queens stare down at trembling staff. The Queen's image watches silently as printers hum and phones buzz. Somewhere in the shadows, an aide whispers, "We're running out of time." Across the ocean, in that small Colorado home, DL closes the box and locks it away. She doesn't smile. She doesn't gloat. She only whispers, "I just want my name back." And in California, two people who once promised transparency sit in separate rooms, each realizing something they can't control anymore. The story they built is no longer theirs to tell, because the question haunting the world isn't did they lie? It's what happens when the truth escapes them? If DL steps forward, this won't just be another royal scandal. It will be the reckoning of a dynasty. A battle between legacy and truth, between image and blood. And as the first domino trembles, everyone, from the palace halls to the California coast, waits for the sound that could change history forever.